This is a 2023 Tesla Model 3, but not just any Tesla Model 3. This is the base model rear-wheel drive with the LFP battery, which means this is the cheapest, slowest, and shortest range Tesla you can buy. Sounds kind of like a bad thing, but actually, if you're gonna buy a Model 3, buy this one. And today, I'm gonna show you why. Before we get into the review, let's just go into some backstory on Tesla for the people that have somehow not heard about it. I don't know how that's possible, but it might be. Anyway, Tesla was founded in 2003 by original CEOs Mark Eberhard and can't remember the other guy's name. Doesn't matter. You might think, isn't Elon Musk the CEO? Yes, but he wasn't originally. He was just an early investor in Tesla, and he wasn't actually the CEO of Tesla. In 2008, they launched their first car, the Tesla Roadster, which was based on a modified Lotus Elise chassis. Then in 2012, they released the Model S, which was their first mainstream electric car that was supposed to show what an electric car was actually capable of doing. And then in 2017, they launched this, the Model 3, which has become the second best selling electric car in the whole world, second only to the Tesla Model Y. So it's pretty popular. They've sold almost 2.5 million units at this point. So it's an extremely popular model. How's about a tour? Up front, you have your very Porsche-esque headlights, DRLs here, low beam, high beam there, projector style, regular beams, turn signals down below. Down here, you would have some what would be fog lights, but since the rear wheel drive doesn't have fog lights, this is just blanked out. Up front, there is a trunk, but you can't actually open it from the outside, which is annoying. So the only ways really to open it is the phone app, the key fob if you have one, or the touchscreen. And then once you pop it open, you can just lift it up. It's on hydraulic struts. And inside the front, there's a decent amount of space. It's all plastic, so it won't get damaged if you put something damaging in there. There's a trunk release here, so you can try to lock someone in here, but they'll be able to get out. There's a decent amount of space in here, although it's just annoying that you can't access it very easily. Now, a lot of people do this wrong, but to close the front trunk, you have to close it a specific way, otherwise you risk damaging the hood. Moving down to the wheels, these are your 18-inch aero wheels, which are the standard equipped wheels on the Model 3. These are actually the ones that I would personally get. These aero covers can pop off. I'm not going to do it right now, but it reveals a pretty decent looking alloy wheel underneath. You do have Nexen tires on this particular car. I don't know if it comes with Nexen tires. I thought they were Michelin's, but the 18-inch wheels do provide a much better ride, and I don't think they look half bad. You have these little cameras on the side, and these actually for autopilot, but there actually is a little turn signal in these cameras too, which is actually quite interesting. This is your default key to the Model 3. It's like a hotel room key almost. To use the hotel room key, you just tap it right here to the B pillar and it'll lock. Tap it again and it'll unlock. And then once you're in the car, just tap it right behind the cup holders to start it up. Hopping into the front seat of the Model 3 is easy. For one thing, these door handles, thumb first, then grab. Here you have some nice frameless double pane windows. It helps reduce a lot of wind noise. Getting in is pretty easy. You have your 10-way power adjustable driver's seat, but only a 6-way power adjustable passenger seat because it doesn't have lumbar. Interesting choice. Don't know why they would have done that. The steering wheel is adjustable with these buttons on the steering wheel. Same for the mirrors. They use the exact same buttons through the touchscreen. There is no gauge cluster directly in front of you, which is kind of confusing. But in the center, you have your 15-inch touchscreen, which works fantastic, and I've had no problems with it. All your driving stuff is displayed right here in the middle. Decent amount of storage in the center console, 2 cup holders, wireless chargers, gear selector, some magnetic little sun visor doodads here with some lights in them. Hazard lights are on the ceiling. Kind of strange if you ask me, but I guess they have to be a physical button, so they put them up there for reasons. The seats are pretty comfy. They are heated, and the steering wheel is heated, and the rear seats are heated. So there's a lot of amenities in the cheapest Tesla you can buy. And then to get out, you just push this button, and the door electronically releases. But if the 12 volt is dead, there is a little manual release right here that you can use. But it warns you when you use it because it could damage this window trim because this window has to roll down for it to open. And when you use that latch, it doesn't roll down because it assumes you don't have 12 volt power. Climbing into the back seats, door handles work the exact same way. Door opens a decent amount, although my camera is in the way, so I have to walk this way. So getting in and out is pretty easy. Once I'm back here, there actually is a decent amount of knee room, a decent amount of headroom due to the glass roof. The floor is completely flat, so you can easily have a middle passenger if you want to. Every rear seat, including the middle seat, is heated. This is all vegan leather. You can fold the seats down with this little latch. You do have cup holders in the center armrest, 2 cup holders, 2 USB-Cs, some air vents back here, and some storage pockets on the back of the seat. Pretty nice. You got lights up here and a good view out of this fantastic glass roof, which I really love inside of this car. Although one thing that's interesting, there's no manual door releases in the back. That's interesting. I wonder why they wouldn't do that. Oh, probably children. That's probably why. Moving around to the back, this is your charge port. You might be like, wait, what charge port? Well, tap right here and it automatically opens up. So this is your Tesla NACS connector, which is proprietary to Tesla as of right now. This battery supports charging at DC at 170 kilowatts and AC up to 7.2 kilowatts. The 60 kilowatt hour LFP battery pack can get you up to 272 miles of range, which you actually are more likely to see on a daily basis because it's LFP, so you can 100% charge it every day, which if you didn't know, you're not supposed to do to other battery chemistries, so you might actually see that 272 more often. And hence the name, since it's rear wheel drive, it's rear wheel drive. There's one motor on the rear axle. It's about 282 horsepower-ish. I don't remember the torque figures. It's pretty peppy, and it allows for this car to get a pretty decent 0 to 60 time of 5.8 seconds. So it makes it the slowest Tesla, but it's still pretty quick. Moving around to the taillights, you have your taillight right here, combined turn signals and brake lights, which is not good for safety. I don't like that. Third brake light is up here. Your reverse lights are here. Pretty simple taillight design, and the charge port is actually integrated into this taillight module. So if your charge port goes out, the taillight has to go with it. Moving back to the trunk, as you notice, you just have the Tesla badge, no dual motor badge, because as the name suggests, this is the rear wheel drive. Press right here above the license plate and it'll all automatically pop open for you. Inside the trunk, you got a decent amount of space. You got hidden storage under the floor, some little pocket on the side here. This is where your 120 to 140 volt EVSE would be stored. And over on this side, there's this little tab that you can pull, which is a manual release for the charge port in case your charge cable gets locked to the car. And once you're done using the trunk, just push this button and it electronically closes for you. Now, talk styling and price. For one, I think the Model 3 is a pretty decent looking sedan. It is a little strange with its front end. It looks a little fish-like to some reviewers. I think it looks fine. I like the general shape of it. It's definitely a very swoopy, aerodynamic shape. As far as price goes, these start at around 40,000 bucks, which is MSRP. But this qualifies for $7,500 tax credit, which means you can get these as low as 32 grand after incentives. Or I think I've seen it as low as like 30 with incentives. So 30 grand for this car is an absolute steal. And I would say even 40 grand for this car is an absolute steal. This is black paint. I hate black paint. Don't get black paint. It's a waste of your time because it scratches so bad because this car, it's a rental from Hertz, so I kind of expected it, but it's covered in scratches because it's a black paint. But the Model 3 comes standard nowadays with midnight silver paint, or you can get white, blue, black, or red. But I think all the paint options, except for this one, look pretty good on the Model 3. And you can even get a white interior instead of this black on wood interior, which frankly, I think the black interior looks fine, but the white looks a lot better, which I would prefer, but that's just my opinion. Anyway, that's enough rambling on about the outside of the car. Let's just do some pros and cons of the Model 3 rear-wheel drive.
Pro, Sentry Mode. Tesla allows you to use all the autopilot cameras to record around the car while parked. If someone hits your car or breaks in, you'll have footage of the incident. It even works while driving, eliminating the need for a dash cam. Pro, Autopilot. Probably the most intelligent driving software available for consumers, is standard on every Tesla you can buy, including the cheapest one. It works fantastic. It'll steer, brake, accelerate, and if you option the $6,000 enhanced autopilot package, it'll be able to change lanes, park itself, and literally drive itself across a parking lot to the owner via a feature called Smart Summon. Pro, the Tesla app. Probably the best app for a car that there is on the market. You can think of the feature that a Tesla app or a car app would have. It basically has it. You can unlock, lock, pre-cool, view the live cameras, pop the trunks, flash the lights, honk the horn, start the car if you're not home and if someone needs to move it. Pro, superchargers. As of today, Tesla has by far the best charging network out there. So basically allows you to go anywhere in America without having to worry about running out of juice. Unlike EA, superchargers are usually always working and have open stalls basically at any time of day. Konish Pro, Park Assist. Most cars with Park Assist use ultrasonic sensors, which are super accurate and super cheap and easy to manufacture, but for some reason, Tesla decided to kill off ultrasonic sensors. So now they're using cameras, which it doesn't make sense for parking sensors because cameras have blind spots, so it doesn't even make any sense anyway. Park Assist kind of works in the newer Model 3s and Model Ys, but it's just eh. Pro, safety. Tesla is really good at making sure its cars are the safest in its class, and that philosophy doesn't gloss over the Model 3. The Model 3 scores one of the highest, if not probably the highest, safety rating in its class of all time. Plus, with all of its driver assistance features, it's the best car to have in a case of an accident, at least in its size class. Con, no Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. enough said. Pro, infotainment. Tesla has mastered the software in their cars and continues to improve it via over-the-air software updates. Battery smooth and the Google Maps route planning is excellent. Probably the best car software in any modern vehicle. Pro-ish con, the air vents. Tesla was the first company to pioneer these screen-adjusted air vents, which makes them kind of finicky and annoying to use while driving. However, the fact that they are directly in front of you, so it actually blows through the steering wheel rather than around it. Pro, dog mode. Dog mode allows you to keep the climate control on when you run into a store or something, which allows you to leave your pet in the car so you don't have to worry about how hot it gets inside your Tesla. The screen even displays an interior temperature reading to let passerbys know that your pet is safe inside. Con, the steering wheel and mirror adjustments are hidden inside the screen. So you have to go to the car menu and then click these buttons and then use the scroll wheels on the steering wheel to adjust them. Not convenient to use while driving. Pro, phone key. Forget carrying that little key card. You can just set up your phone to use as a key, so when you walk up to the car and unlocks, you can just get away, put it into drive, and drive away. Once you're parked, just get out and walk away, and it'll automatically lock. Con, no spare tire. Good luck if you get a flat. Pro, driver profiles. If you ever want to have multiple seats, mirror, and steering wheel adjustments saved for every person in your family, just create a driver profile for each person. That way, each seat position, mirrors, autopilot settings, and steering wheel position, and basically everything else that's configurable in the car is saved for each person. So when they get in, they can just switch profiles, and it pulls up their desired settings. Pro, the driving experience. Even though this is the slowest Tesla you can buy, that doesn't mean it's slow, although it's still the slowest Tesla. But it still is zippy, has plenty of instant torque, and gets a pretty decent amount of pull up in the higher speeds. The steering is tight and quick, although almost too much, to be honest. It's a little too eager to move. The car is planted around corners due to the battery pack being under the floor, and the rear-wheel drive actually helps make it more tail-happy, so it's more fun around corners, although good luck trying to drift it because you can't turn traction control off. Con, the rear trunk is powered, but not the front trunk. Many new EVs do have a power front trunk, but I guess I'll forgive the Model 3 because of its price point. Pro, voice control. Just press down on the right scroll wheel and tell the car what you want it to do. There are countless commands it can execute, like turning up the temperature or opening the charging port, and there's many other things I could list off, but I'm not going to because that's just going to waste time. Con, the AC charging speed is lower than rivals, only 7.2 kilowatts AC, compared to most new EVs, which have an 11.8 kilowatt onboard charger, which means they can pull up to 48 amps, whereas the Model 3 is only a 32 amp charger, so yes, its battery is smaller than most new EVs, but it still charges slower on AC. Con, the rear seat is kind of low to the floor, which leaves a lot to be desired when it comes to under-thigh support. Con, the back windows only roll down about halfway. Super annoying. Pro, the seats are extremely comfortable. Probably one of the most comfy seats I've sat in. Super soft and supportive at the same time, although they do lack ventilation, which can make your back sweat in hotter climates. Texas. Con, the charging cable is no longer included with the car. They just pulled an Apple move with that one, but it's $200 on their website if you need it. Con, the automatic wipers. While they do technically work, they usually either wipe way too fast or way too slow for the amount of rain falling on the windshield. Pro, the stereo system is actually pretty good. Even though the standard range car has a more basic system compared to the long range, it still has a decent amount of bass for having no subwoofer and a lot of clarity in the higher end. Con, no floor mats included. Okay. Con, no passenger lumbar support. Earlier Model 3s did actually come with passenger lumbar, but for some reason they removed it to cut costs. Pro-ish con, the panoramic sunroof. Having the glass roof is nice and it is beautiful to look out of, but you can't close it. And even though it is heavily tinted, it still lets a lot of sunlight through, which can make it quite hot inside in Texas in the summertime.
Okay, let's just chill with the pros and cons for a second. Let's just do some more weird and quirky features of the Model 3 that aren't really a good or a bad thing. It's just kind of interesting that it has them. So let's get into some quirks and features of the Model 3 rear-wheel drive. So I want you guys to be wary of this. If you see some of these flaws in the video, these are not Tesla's fault. For example, these dents, this fog light being a little bit jiggly, this scrape on the front bumper, this door ding, all of these are not Tesla's fault. It's because this is a Hertz rental car. So before you say it in the comments that Teslas are crappy, keep in mind that those are not Tesla's fault. This is completely the fault of it being a Hertz rental car. An interesting quirk of all Teslas is that there is no gas or no startup button in this car. You just get in, put your foot on the brake, tap the key card, or if you have your phone in your pocket, you don't do anything, and then you just put it into gear. There's no start-stop button. This is your gear selector, just down for drive, up for reverse, hold part way for neutral, and then park is on the end. You can also set the parking brake if you hold down on the park button, and if you double tap down, that's your autopilot. Another interesting quirk is that the turn signal stalk that clicks back to the center whenever you press it. so it's kind of confusing to know if it's on or not, and it's hard to turn it off. Luckily, if you want to turn it off, you can just half press in the same direction to turn it off. Also, you have built-in YouTube and stuff in this car, which is super nice. So you can watch videos when you're at superchargers. You also have all these energy graphs that show you exactly how much range you could gain if you changed like your driving and stuff. So in the park, it says like your screen time, and then screen time, and then it says like your driving, your climate, and then it gives you a consumption graph. So based on my last 5 miles of driving, we would have 28 miles of range. It has a cool beach buggy racing game, which is pretty fun. It's like Mario Kart, but you actually use the steering wheel, which is fun. Oh, but this is so cool. You can actually drive using you can drive using the steering wheel, which is pretty fun. You also have a built-in Zoom app, which actually uses the built-in camera up here, so you can log in and do Zoom meetings in your Tesla, which is something that is completely unnecessary, but actually is kind of useful if you think about it. You also have a karaoke, like, thing, like a karaoke mode, so, like, it'll give you the lyrics to stuff if you want to. All of this stuff is definitely copyright matched, but, yeah, it errored, but you know what I mean. Also on the screen, you have things like a doodle pad to draw with, which is fun. You also have a campfire romance mode, which actually turns on the heat out of the air vents and turns on the heated seats, which is fun. You can even have it play music and do like a light show if you want to. And what I find cool is that it prints the words Tesla with the lights. There's even like a little like music making tool like in the infotainment screen. Another little hidden Easter egg is that if you go into the tab here, go down to software, and then you hold down on the Model 3 thing, you can actually enter a hidden code. And this is mainly for servicing, but you can actually enter like dyno mode, which will put the car into dyno mode and other interesting codes that the car has built in. You also have like a built-in like user manual in here, but you also have a web browser built in, which is interesting. An interesting quirk is to access the glove box, you have to go into the touchscreen and click the glove box button, and then it pops open. Another nice feature is if you hold down on the scroll wheel, you actually have like a little quick access menu that you can use to like adjust your fan speed on the steering wheel. I don't know why more cars don't have this. This is kind of useful actually. Another nice feature is that you actually have cameras that come on when you put the turn signal on to show you your blind spot. And you can actually move these around if you want to. So if you don't like where this is, you can actually move that. Also, everything you do to your car in real life actually mimics on the little animated character of your car in the screen. You open the door at night, you actually have some lights to illuminate the ground so you don't trip and fall, which is nice. A nice feature with this power trunk is that if you don't want it to go to a certain height, you can actually move it to the height that you want it to set to, hold down, and then once it beeps, it'll save it. So now if you close it again, and then open it, it'll only open back up to that height that you just set. So there's a lot of different ways you can open this charge port. For one, you can tap on it. You can press a button on the infotainment screen and open it. You can open it from the app, or you can tap on the button on the charging cable and then it will open up, which is actually one of the best features ever, and only Teslas have this feature. There's a screen cleaning mode, which allows you to wipe down your screen in case it gets all crusty. Then if you hold down, then it'll exit screen cleaning mode. Can't talk. Another interesting thing is that your lock button for the windows is also not on the door, but even the lock button for your doors is not on the door. The lock button for your door is right here, and they're completely silent locks. I'm guessing just because it's electronic that it just doesn't allow the electronics to work, and there's no actual lock, I'm guessing. So it just makes that little chime sound whenever you lock it. You also have 3 different levels of steering firmness, and you have 3 different stopping modes. So creep will roll forward like a regular automatic. Roll won't like accelerate to get up to speed, but it will like roll down a hill, and then hold will hold you in place and maximize regen to get the best range. Also, when you're charging and you close the door, it actually shows a nice little depiction of your charging speed, your percentage, and your time estimate. I mean, it's gonna take forever right now because we're plugged into 110, but One thing I find annoying about the Model 3 is that the rear visibility, because the trunk floor is kind of high, the rear visibility out of this mirror is not great, and there's no option to have a camera that pops up in this mirror like some cars have to see over it. Yes, you know you have a very good looking backup camera, but it would be nice if this was also a camera. Down here in this little section, you can cycle between your trips, you can use your little music tab, or you can see your tire pressure in this little bottom corner. You can also turn on a setting called pin to drive, which will make it to where when you put it in drive, you actually need to enter a pin code to drive. So even if you have the key, it'll still need you to enter a pin in case you want it. You can also have it have a glove box pin, so you can have a pin for the glove box, so in case you don't want people accessing that. You can see what the car sees with the little cameras, and it also shows cars and stuff on the you know what I mean. So my car is over there. It sees it. My dad's pickup truck. It should see that in a second. We'll see if it does. There we go. It sees it as a regular car, but you get the point. And it'll see traffic cones, stop signs, all the road markings. It's really intelligent with all the stuff it can recognize. And the fact that this is all camera-based and no sensors are involved is kind of magic, in my opinion. Like, just look at how accurate this is. Even if it's not perfect, it's really good for being purely camera based. Another interesting quirk is that you can have it make a sound for each gear that you go into. So there's drive. See, you can have it make those little sounds, and you can turn them off if you don't like them, but another good feature is camp mode, which will actually keep the climate on, so you can sleep inside your Tesla, and it'll keep all the lights off, and it'll keep it on until it reaches 20%. And Sentry mode and security alarm and walk away lock will all be turned off, so you can sleep inside your car with the AC on. Also, within your driver profiles, you can actually set up an easy entry mode. So if it's easier for you to get in with the steering wheel all the way up and inward, and then you can have the seat go back more. So whenever you get in, it'll be in this easy entry mode, but then whenever you go into drive, it will put it back to your regular seating position, which is super useful. So if you struggle to get in with the way you like to sit, which is a kind of a case for me, this is a super useful feature. One thing that's kind of annoying is that there's actually a hump in the floor where the batteries go. And so if you're like me and like to rest your foot a little bit further back, it's a little bit annoying. It's not as bad as the Polestar 2. The Polestar 2 that we tried was a little worse in this regard, but the Model 3 still has it, and that's a little annoying. The boombox feature actually allows you to use the external pedestrian warning speaker of your car to play sounds outside. So you can replace your horn with a fart sound if you want, which is funny. Or you can do a megaphone, which actually amplifies your voice and puts it outside the car. And no, if you even tried to put it in drive, it just says charge cable connected to vehicle, disconnect charge cable to drive. So you can't drive with it plugged in, which makes sense, but you also have Santa mode, which is kind of funny. This is probably copyright. Oh no. So those are some quirks and features of the Model 3. Now, let's get this rear-wheel drive car out on the road and see how it drives, which I suspect is going to be pretty well. Model 3, standard range. So this is probably the car that I would pick out of the Model 3 lineup. It's got plenty of power. It's the slowest Tesla with the shortest range, but I think it's honestly perfectly fine just for around town driving, or really any driving. It's got plenty of zip, and I feel like the range isn't the biggest problem because the charging is pretty decent. Handles well. The thing about the steering though is that it's very close ratio. It's only 2 turns lock to lock, which is kind of, but I would prefer 2.5 turns lock to lock, so it's not as quick. I like autopilot. It's included standard on every Tesla, works fairly well. It's completely vision-based now. There's no sensors or radar or anything in these cars. It's just completely vision-based. It's not too loud at highway speed. We're going like 74-ish miles an hour. I canceled autopilot. But it's not too loud in here. People say that these cars are really loud on the road, but honestly, I don't think that. And it drives really well, actually. But yeah, I can see why this car is as popular as it is. Throttle once I'm straight. It's not bad. It's definitely quick enough for a single motor model. But I just really like autopilot because it just kind of allows you to relax. It'll keep the speed limit and makes it a lot easier on longer trips. And that's a thorough review of the Model 3 rear-wheel drive, the cheapest, best-selling, and best value Tesla you can buy. And the one I would highly recommend most people go for. Yes, the long range has more range, charges faster, and is faster, 0 to 60 wise than this, but the average person doesn't need it. Personally, the realistic real-world range that you get on a daily basis, comparing this and the long range, is very similar because this you can charge to 100%, the long range you can't, daily that is. So the range is actually very similar. In the 0 to 60 time, this is honestly fast enough. I don't think really the average person would need to go faster than 5.8 seconds 0 to 60, but if you do, I would just go straight for the performance because, well, if you want more performance, just get the performance. It's going to be a better performance car because it has track mode and the better brakes and the better motors and stuff. But honestly, this is my pick of the entire Tesla lineup, not just the Model 3. But that's just me. If you need a bigger car, I would highly suggest the Model Y, which you can get a very, very, very small third row in, and you can get basically the same styling, the same motors, same batteries, and basically the same car, except it's just taller and has a little more space. But yeah, that's a thorough review of the Model 3 Standard Range, or the Model 3 rear-wheel drive, or the Model 3 Standard Range Plus, or the Model 3 LFP, or the Model 3 single motor. What do they actually call it? I think it's the rear-wheel drive, but anyway, that's enough for this video. See y'all in the next one.